And I'm going to invite everyone to join me in putting our palms together while Sharon requests the Dharma. Sharon, when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. 恭请大德圣听，为是化会，及一切众生，请转了法轮，教导我们如何了生。脱是离苦得乐，速证无生。有的 Sangha with virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma view to teach us how to live suffering and act in this and birth and death and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo Sadanto Sucheto Ye Alahati San Miao San Puto Che. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, and all good knowing friends and advisors, welcome to class number 33 in our journey in exploring the Medicine Master Buddha Sutra. As usual, we will begin by reciting Medicine Master Buddha's name 7 times. Namo, quelling disasters, lending life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 Medicine Master does come one. 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 Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. Let me now just change the slide to what we're going to use for today. Oh, where's my PowerPoint? Okay. So we've come to the end of the Medicine Master Buddha's 12 vows. And if you think this is the end of the vows, not quite, because we've used Medicine Master Buddha's vows as a way to explore how we can use vows ourselves as practice. But there's also the other part, which is how the bodhisattvas themselves use vows. And coming off we've just had a 7-day Amitabha session at Tenpian Monastery, where I am right now in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. A socially distanced online Amitabha session. And I have to say that I hope that you find today's slides just as inspiring as it is for me. And today, I'm also really happy to let you all know that JinHe, who's with us, she didn't join us last week because she was in a retreat in, let me see, Birkin. Let me see if okay, she was in a Thai forest monastery in a virtual retreat as well, I think. So I'm going to make some time today for JinHe to explain, to share what she went through and also to take questions. Okay, without wasting any more time, I'm going to invite everyone to join me in putting your palms together as we read the Medicine Master Sutra. Manjushri. Okay, so this is the Buddha speaking. Okay, so Manjushri, these are the 12 sublime and wonderful vows that the world-honored one, Medicine Master Vaidurya Light Tathagata, one of proper and equal enlightenment, made while cultivating the Bodhisattva way. Okay, so this part of the sutra, the Buddha has just finished listing down the 12 vows of Medicine Master Buddha. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. See what the Buddha says next. Okay, the Buddha says, moreover, Manjushri, if I were to speak for an eon or more about the great vows made by the world-honored one, Medicine Master Vaidurya Light Tathagata, when he practiced the Bodhisattva way, and about the merit, virtue, and adornments of his Buddha land, I could not finish. All right. So I used to, when I come to this part of the sutra, I used to just gloss through the sutra and really take this whole section for granted. And when the Buddha says, I could not finish speaking about the vows made by Medicine Master Buddha when he practiced the Bodhisattva way, I said, yeah, why? Yeah, he made, he made a lot of good deeds, and the Buddha is just saying it in such a way that too many to count. Okay, but actually there's a very interesting there is a very interesting explanation that provides one aspect of why the Buddha says this. Yeah, and but before we go into that, first I have to talk to you about the 10 parameters. Why? Because the vows are part of the 10 parameters, and the 10 parameters each parameter corresponds to a different ground of the Bodhisattva as he progresses through. Okay, just hold on. I just want to go through my notes again because I don't want to miss anything. Okay. All right, so next slide. All right, so what you see in front of you is called the 10 paramitas or the 10 perfections, or it can also be, paramita can also be explained as reaching the other shore. What other shore? Well, the sea of suffering and confusion that you cross, and then you enter into prajna paramita, or great wisdom. Okay, so what are the 10 paramitas? Most people are familiar with the first six. So the first is giving. Okay, that takes stinginess across and giving. So you see number 1 to 10, it is said that the bodhisattva, as he or she progresses from the first ground all the way to the 10th ground, they perfect this, they perfect the paramitas as they go along. So say a bodhisattva on the first ground, which is the the ground of joyfulness, he perfects the paramita of giving, of generosity. And then if he or she progresses to the second ground, then the paramita of moral precepts or sila is then perfected. It doesn't mean that the bodhisattva only does giving or generosity in the first ground and does not do the rest of the paramitas. At every stage, there are always the 10 paramitas, but it is at the paramita that's perfected in that particular ground is what's listed from 1 to 10. And it's also not for sure that you, as a bodhisattva, you have to go through the grounds from 1 to 10. You can skip. If I'm not mistaken, Guan Bodhisattva, I think from first ground, instantly became a 8th ground bodhisattva. How? I'm not sure. When I recognize Guan and I see Guan, I'll make sure I'll ask. Okay, so what are the 10 paramitas? Giving, second, moral precepts, third, patience, fourth, vigor, number 5, Chan concentration, okay, number 6, wisdom, and then number 7 is known as methods. Number 8 is relevant to us. That means for on the ground, 8 stage bodhisattva, 8 ground bodhisattva perfects the paramita or the perfection of vows. And then number 9 is known as powers or strengths, and number 10 is knowledge. So if you want to know more about this, you can join Rama Heng Shui in his Avatamsaka Sutra lectures, or you can read the sutra yourself. Go to the 10 grounds chapter, and it gives you a bit more, or rather quite a lot more, about all this 10. Okay, but today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 8th ground bodhisattva. Okay, what is the 8th ground bodhisattva? All right. Okay, so this is from the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Flower Adornment Sutra. It says that the bodhisattva dwelling on this ground often serves as a king of the great Brahma heaven, the lord over 1,000 worlds. There, equipped with acutely sharp faculties, he endlessly bestows teachings on beings, including Shravaka disciples and Pracheka Buddhas, teachings on the causes and conditions of the path of the paramitas. No one is able to prevail over him in discussions on the distinctions among world realms. So it's not for sure, but usually an 8th ground bodhisattva is the known as the Lord Brahma King in the great Brahma heaven. Okay, which is not easy at all to get there. Okay, what else about the 8th ground bodhisattva? Okay, I think this is the Buddha speaking in the Avatamsaka Sutra. The Buddha says, "Sons of the Buddha, I shall now explain this for your sakes. If the Buddhas did not cause this bodhisattva to dwell within gateways to wisdom such as this bodhisattva would then choose to enter into the absolute and final nirvana, thereby abandoning his devotion to benefiting all beings." Okay, why do we have this? All right. The eighth ground is also known as the ground of immovability. That means the bodhisattva, when it reaches the eighth ground, becomes really solid. And there's a whole new dimension to the bodhisattva. You can think of it as the, how you say, think of a boat. Okay, think of like a very fast speedboat. If you ever been on a boat, if the sea is anything less than perfectly calm, as the boat picks up speed, the ride becomes really choppy. If you sit on the boat keeps on slapping like pop, pop, pop on the waves, and it hurts. If you are not sitting on a cushion seat, it really hurts, and it bounces you around, and you have to hold on to something. So you can kind of use that to look at first ground to seventh ground. Okay. And then, but on the eighth ground onwards, you can, the boat transforms into a hydrofoil. What is a hydrofoil? A hydrofoil is a type of boat that has like skis and a foil at the bottom. So what happens is that when the boat reaches a certain speed, the foils at the bottom lifts the boat up of the water. So the boat looks like it's gliding on air because it's above the waves, and only the foil, the skis and the foil is in the water. So what happens to the right? It becomes extremely smooth. It's very, very efficient. It's very smooth because you are not hitting the waves anymore. So you can that metaphor works for me when I'm trying to figure out the difference between the seventh ground bodhisattva and the eighth ground, because the eighth ground is like very, very different. And what else happens on the eighth ground? Well, at the stage of the eighth ground, very interestingly, the bodhisattva can enter nirvana, just like a fourth stage arahant. So this is why, nirvana is really, really comfortable. Okay, when you enter nirvana, it is how you say. Okay, I obviously I can't speak from. I'm not speaking from personal experience, but it is very enticing. It is how you say. It is like the fruit of your practice. After practicing vigorously for so long, there is this fruit right in front of you. It's juicy. You are thirsty. You know, all your hard work has accumulated into this opportunity to enter nirvana. It's the, how you say, end game. They call it end game. Like end game is a term that's used to is used for the, I think the last Avengers movie, but it's also used for when you buy something that's so good that you don't need to buy anything else anymore that can replace it. It's called the end game. Okay, so this is why in this slide that you see in front of you, when a bodhisattva reaches the eighth ground, Buddhas appear in front of him to exhort him to. I'll read it again. It says, "Sons of the Buddha, I shall now explain this for your sakes. If the Buddhas did not cause this bodhisattva to dwell within gateways to wisdom such as this." Okay, so this sentence is referring to how the Buddhas has exhorted the bodhisattva to move on. It's referencing previous passages that we are not covering today, the gateways to wisdom. So if the Buddhas, multiple Buddhas, did not try to exhort this bodhisattva, what would happen? Okay, it says, this bodhisattva would then choose to enter into the absolute and final nirvana, thereby abandoning his devotion to benefiting living beings. Okay, all right, so let's move on to the next slide. So it says, continuing in the sutra, it says, from the very beginning, He is protected by the power of his vows. The Buddhas now manifest to him and encourage him, saying, "It is this very patience, the foremost among them all, that is a position assumed by all Buddhas. Our deep knowledge and powers, our fearlessnesses, and our dharmas exclusive to the Buddhas. Given that you do not yet possess this yourself, you must bring forth diligence and vigor to acquire them." So the Buddhas are telling the Bodhisattva, says that you have not completed your path. Okay. It says that although you have, you can enter nirvana right now, but you are not a Buddha yet. All right. So just let me mute. Okay. And let's move on, continue with the next slide. Although you have now succeeded in extinguishing all fires originating with the afflictions, you should nonetheless contemplate that in all worlds, the fires of the afflictions still always blaze on fiercely. You should call to mind the vows you originally brought forth, in which you aspired to serve the benefit of all beings, vowed to acquire the universal knowing of all dharmas, and vowed to engage then in, I think that's a typo, and vowed to engage them in the vast work of liberating everyone. Okay, let's move on. So these are the Buddhas exhorting the Bodhisattva, and then they continue saying, the actual character of the nature of dharmas is that it is eternally abiding and unchanging. Even followers of the two vehicles succeed in realizing this. Thus, being known as a Buddha is not due merely to achieving this. It is solely due to having acquired their unimpeded, extremely profound, and sublime knowledge along with their utterly penetrating comprehension of the three periods of time that one can then be known as a Buddha. So you see the Buddhas are trying to tell the Bodhisattva, I said, no. You can enter Nirvana, but please don't do that yet. There is still more that you have to learn, and more knowledge that you have to acquire. And what you have right now, they say, even followers of the two vehicles. What are the two vehicles? The sound hearer, which is the arhats, and the Prachika Buddha vehicle. It says what you have achieved is on par with what arhats and Prachika Buddhas can achieve. So you're not a Buddha yet. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Okay. They further explain, it says, it is because the Buddhas bestow upon this Bodhisattva just so countlessly and boundlessly many causes and conditions associated with the generation of wisdom, that the wisdom he is then able to generate in but a single moment becomes such that all of that already produced from the first ground on through to the end of the seventh ground could not constitute even a single part in 100 parts. Let me just say it again. Could not constitute even a single part in 100 parts, a single part in 1,000 myriads of kotis of parts, a single part in 100,000 myriads of kotis of nayutas of parts, and so forth, until we come to its not being able to equal even a single part in countlessly and boundlessly many ashamkayas of parts, and its being unable to equal even a single part in a number of parts describable only by calculation or analogy. Okay, after reading this, I just realized that how you say, I have not prepared the slides really well. Okay, what do I mean? Okay, let's go back to the slide just before this very seemingly confusing slide that needs multiple readings to make sense of. Okay, so going back to the slide before, where the Buddha is exhorting the 8th stage Bodhisattva to carry on. what I forgot to say is that the Bodhisattva has agreed. Okay, the Bodhisattva says, okay, I will carry on. And as he carries on, then we go to the part about why it is, in the first slide, the Buddha says, or today's second slide, the Buddha says, he cannot explain all the vows made by Medicine Master Buddha Sutra in his journey as a Bodhisattva. He says he cannot finish speaking of it. Okay, why can't he finish speaking of it? Is part of this slide that you see in front of you. I hope I have not confused everyone because I am slightly confused myself. Okay, all right. So this slide has a lot of words. Okay, you don't have to understand exactly what this slide says. Okay, because what it's trying to say is this. It says that now that the Buddhas have shown the Bodhisattva of the eighth ground the way forward, okay, and the Bodhisattva of the eighth ground has forsaken entry into Nirvana because he realizes, hey, yes, there's a lot more I can learn. I'm not a Buddha yet. And furthermore, all those vows that I made, from when? From being just like us right now, in our confusion, in our affliction, in trying to figure out what it is like to actually practice properly, all the way to his entry in the first Bodhisattva ground, up to this very point, he has made a lot of vows. And what are the vows? I'm going to share those vows with you in the next few slides. Then, not only he's made all those vows, what this slide is saying in the second part, with all those really confusing words, a single part in 1,000 myriads of kotis or 100,000 myriads of kotis, what it's trying to say is that all those time, the Bodhisattva from just being like us, okay, up to the seventh stage, okay, all of the things that he's done cannot even, you accumulate all of those, you combine all of those. That means from our journey, from where we are, when we reach the seventh ground, we combine all the things that we've done. Okay, cannot even compare to a single part of the Bodhisattva being on the eighth ground. That's how awesome the eighth ground is. Okay, if you were to chart it, put it in a chart, okay, this is what it will look like. Okay, it's off the charts, literally off the charts. If you, I think this is called a compounding, is it called a compounding curve? Something like that. So you see from, it accumulates, all right? We start from the first ground, it slowly goes up, but from the eighth ground onwards, it just shoots all the way up to the stars. Okay? Why is this the case? Okay. If you ask that, well, you can read the mind of the Buddha, because he actually asked the question himself. He says, and why is this the case? Okay. This is because all of the meritorious qualities cultivated and accumulated so far have been the product of but a single body's progression along the path. Okay, a single body's progression along the path. Now, beginning with this ground, he, meaning the Bodhisattva, acquires countlessly many bodies in which he cultivates the Bodhisattva path, employing as he does so countlessly many voices and countlessly many expressions of wisdom in countlessly many places of rebirth and in countlessly many pure lands wherein, in all such circumstances, he engages in teaching countlessly many beings and in making offerings to, providing for, and serving countlessly many Buddhas. So that's why on the eighth stage, everything that he's done before reaching the eighth stage, you combine all of them, it can't even compare to a single moment of being on the eighth stage. Why? Because from now until we ourselves, okay, think of yourself. From now until the seventh stage, we only have one body. Everything that we do, we are limited by the number of hands that we have, the number of eyes that we have, the number of people we can speak to at a certain time, to one, which is ourselves. But on the eighth stage forwards, the Bodhisattva gains the ability to manifest at the same time countlessly many bodies. So he can go to everywhere where there are living beings. He can use many voices at the same time. In many places of rebirth, he can interact with countless living beings in countless Buddha lands. And that is why when the Buddha says that in the second slide, he says, let's go back to the second slide. All right. Let me see if there's a fast way to, no, I'll go one by one. Okay, close your eyes because it's going to flicker. Okay, open your eyes now. That's why the Buddha says, he says, Moreover, Manjushri, if I were to speak for an eon or more about the great vows made by the world-honored one, medicine master Vaidurya like Tathagata when he practiced the Bodhisattva way, and about the merit, virtue, and adornments of his Buddha land, I could not finish. This is one very good reason why. Because when you're on the 8th stage and above, boom, you just, people are familiar with compounding interest. Compounding interest is like if you put $100 into your bank account and you get, say, 5% interest rate every year. At the end of 1 year, you have $105 because you add 5%. And then at the end of the second year, you have 5% on $105. So as time goes by, as your what's that called? What's the term for it? What's the initial amount? I know there's a term for it, but I don't know what the term is right now. As the initial, I just call it investment, as it grows, so you get a compounding curve. But if you are 8th stage Bodhisattva, instead of getting your interest annually, imagine you get your interest every second. So instead of getting 5% every year, you get 5% every second, and that's why the graph just shoots right up. Okay, let me look at the chat box. It says, okay, Ron says, at what stage does Bodhisattva attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Assuming Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, and I'm not quite sure, I have to look it up, but if I am right, assuming Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is equal and right enlightenment, then it is when the Bodhisattva becomes a Buddha. Okay, and then Sahase asks, can you be born in Medicine Master Buddha land and become a Buddha there? Okay, your question, Saha, will be answered in today's slides. And then Sharon says, Guan Yin Pusat jumped from 1st to 8th ground after he first heard the great compassion mantra from King of Thousand Lights, abiding in stillness, Tathagata. Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, so Guan Yin Pusat skipped 7 grounds. From first, she immediately graduated to the 8th ground. Okay, let's go back to. Okay, I'm going to quickly cycle through the slide. Sorry for the flashing. Okay, so now we go back to the Paramita of Vows. Because this is the part where after we have spent so many classes research, understanding the vows from our perspective, learning how to make vows ourselves, and the importance of vows, now we come to the inspirational part, which is learning how the Bodhisattvas make these vows. Okay, so I'm going to read this slide. This is also from the Avatamsaka Sutra. It says the Bodhisattva's 10 great vows, which are characterized by great zeal and great manifestations in the world, are the sort of vows which are foremost. After one has fulfilled these 10 great vows, one establishes ashamkayas of hundreds of thousands of other bodhisattva vows. Thus Thus, one comes to abide on the Bodhisattva's ground of joyfulness, which is known as the first ground. This is what is meant by the paramita of vows. All bodhisattvas establish themselves from the very outset in the 10 great vows. So all of you bodhisattva wannabes, okay, who want to really practice the bodhisattva path, you should start paying attention to the remainder of the slides, okay, because these are the vows that are made by a bodhisattva on the first ground. And is I've always wanted to understand if these vows are also made before you become a bodhisattva on the first ground. It seems like the text does hint of it, but I haven't had the time because of the Amitabha session. If anyone knows, please share. Okay, so whether you make this vows, then only you become a bodhisattva on the first ground, or you become a bodhisattva on the first ground and then you make these vows. Well, it doesn't really matter if you try your best to understand these vows. Let these vows inspire you, and try to make as your vows as close as these vows. Okay, all right. What's the first vow? Okay, we're going to go through the first the 10 vows. Okay, the first vow is one vows to make offerings to, supply the needs of, and extend reverence to all Buddhas. Okay, I have to say that going through these 10 vows has given me a deeper appreciation and understanding of the Bodhisattva precepts. So you might want to link, for those of you who have taken the Bodhisattva precepts or who are interested and who have read the Brahmanet Sutra, you can try to link what you understand to these vows. Okay, so this is the first vow: to make offerings and supply the needs and be respectful to all Buddhas. Okay, simple, right? Everyone can make this vow. All right, what's the second vow? One vows that in all cases, one will protect and uphold the Dharma of all Buddhas. Okay, so far so good, right? So everywhere you go, if you have the opportunity, and you always, you want to protect the right teachings. If you have a chance to explain the sutras, you try your best to understand it in a proper way, and then you share it. Okay, so far so good. Okay, let's go to number 3. The Bodhisattva. Okay, from that time, when all Buddhas depart the Tushita heaven and come back to abide in the world, on forward to the end of their teaching and transforming an eternal entry into the realm of nirvana without residue, including when they abide in the womb, on up to their birth, on to their living lay life, proceeding to the side of enlightenment, they are conquering the demons, realizing the path to Buddhahood, and their first turning of the view of the sublime Dharma. I will respectfully welcome all of the Tathagatas, and throughout that entire time, I vow that in all cases, I shall be entirely devoted to making offerings to them. Okay, so Saha, your question, can you be born in Medicine Master Buddha land and become a Buddha there? Answer is yes and no. Okay, you can be born in a pure land to walk the Bodhisattva path, but in your last, all Buddhas, okay, how they become Buddhas is described in this slide. Yeah, they are in the Tushita heaven first, like Maitreya Bodhisattva right now in the Tushita heaven. Maitreya Bodhisattva is going to be the next Buddha. So what happens is, from the Tushita heaven, okay, they are reborn into the world of the Saha world. And just like the Buddha's journey, Shakyamuni Buddha's journey when he was born as a prince, they all, all future Buddhas have to go through that. And then in the body of a human, a man, they become a Buddha. All right, Saha, so that's the answer to your question. So this vow is that in every world, okay, where there is going to be a Buddha reborn, you vow that you will be there to welcome the Buddha. And you'll be devoted in making offerings to the Buddha. How awesome is that? Okay, you are the welcome party for the future Buddha. So you can make this vow. A lot of people want to be in this world when Maitreya Bodhisattva is reborn to become in his final journey to become a Buddha. So you want to make sure you come back as a Bodhisattva then you'll be in control, okay? So this is the vow that you make. Okay, let's go on to vow number 4. Vow number 4 is a vow to teach and transform beings, causing them all to enter the paths. Okay, so it says what this vow really means is that the Bodhisattva here is trying to understand and practice all the different ways that you can apply the 10 parameters. Okay, so he's trying to understand the principle behind the 10 parameters, and then in the specifics when you apply them, because the the Bodhisattva is not just doing it for himself, but he's also doing it for all living beings in many different worlds. So they are very, very different. There are varying conditions that you can apply the principles as specifics. So any way he can reduce greed, hatred, and ignorance using the 10 parameters, the Bodhisattva vows to understand them all. And then what happens when he does? He then passes it on to others. And it's very interesting because it says that having passed it on to others, you then sustain it yourself by upholding them in practice. So you continuously not just teach, but you also show in your behavior um, um, in how you use the 10 parameters. So this is the 4th great vow. Okay, let me see, it's 9:43. I think I will hand over the session to Jinro Shi. And Jinro Shi wants to show you all a picture. Let me look it up. Are you ready now, Master Jinro?
I'm here. I'm ready.
Okay, all right. Can everyone see this photo? Can you see the photo now, Master Jinro?
Oh, I can see it very well. Yes.
Okay, great. If you can, then so can others.
Oh,
all right.
Okay then. All right, looks nice. Well, so this is an image of the Buddha, but there's no Buddha, as you see. And this is from the monastery I went to. It's called Birken Forest Monastery, and it's in the mountains close up from Vancouver. Somewhere up in the country there. Anyway, it's a Theravada monastery, and this is a Buddha image that was designed by the abbot there, Ajahn Sona. And it is it's really I've often wondered what it would be like to have a Western Buddha. The master encouraged us to make images of the Buddha in the West, and this is one of the first ones I've seen, actually. One of the first Western Buddhas I've seen. And you can see it's very modern. It's just an image without anything. It's just empty. So I went to the monastery there. It was a virtual monastery. This is the hallway inside. But this was it was on metta, on loving kindness, on the metta. Actually, there were several different sutras that were discussed, but it was on loving kindness. And actually, loving kindness can be applied to any teaching at all. As a matter of fact, the 10 paramitas. Loving kindness can be a basis of each paramita. So it was this matter. The retreat itself was It's done online. It's in the mountains, and everybody. There were about 32 countries. People joined. There were thousands of people who attended the lectures at night, and there were other people who attended the meditation session. But one, it was done like, it was really beautiful, because when you go to a monastery, part of going to a monastery for a retreat is going there. And so what they did, when you get to the bottom of the mountain, everybody gets a video, and it's a video going through the snow, up the hill in a car, and going around the curves and around the beautiful forest with all the snow. And finally, you come to the monastery, and you open the door, and you take off your shoes, and you go in, you bow to the Buddha. So everything was rather like that. We even had walks in nature when it was snowing, like early in the morning and late in the afternoon, where someone would go out with a camera, and we could actually walk with them visually, but not really be there. But it was done beautifully. It was like art. And it was really a wonderful experience. I learned a lot about loving kindness when I was there, because they went to it very, very deeply. Very deeply. And I found that it's a very good aid in my own practice. For example, reciting the Buddha's Amitabha's name. I would go in the afternoon and I recite Amitabha's name. And then what I realized, that Amitabha is just really sitting loving kindness to us. And by sitting there and reciting his name, well, the Buddha hall where I live is golden, a lot of golden light, a lot of golden colors in the room. So by receiving the golden light of Amitabha Buddha with loving kindness, it just naturally melts into the body, and it just naturally pours out to everyone. So this was a very good method for me to use to concentrate and to stay alert and to really connect with Amitabha in a very different way. Now, one thing that was brought out in the lecture was that loving kindness is like, it's more kind of emotion in a way. And so you cannot have any negative emotion at all and be in a loving kindness state. Because loving kindness is actually the absence of the 7 hindrances. You cannot have any greed or any desire or anything and be in this state of loving kindness. So I had that experience today. I was really surprised. Today for lunch, I ate something that was very hot and very spicy, and it didn't agree with me at all. And I was in the Buddha hall, and all of a sudden, all this hot, spicy food set my body on fire. And I felt all this tremendous anger just coming from nowhere at everything. And I tried my best to bring some loving kindness, but I wasn't able to, because I was filled with anguish. I was feeling with this. Then all the little things that people said to me that were mean, came up in my mind. I said, oh no, I can't do this. I must have some loving kindness. But I wasn't able to do it. I wasn't able to do anything at all until finally I was able to settle myself down. And once I settled myself down, it took a long time. Then all of a sudden, loving kindness was there. So this was a really good lesson for me, a really good experience. I just wanted to share it with you all. So do we have more time?
Yes, we have more time, JinHe. Sure.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have any questions?
If no one has, I have a question.
Okay,
Master
yes.
JinHe. How do you settle yourself down?
Oh, it took a long time. Because time. I think it's just time. First I was anxious about it because I wanted to attain the state of loving kindness that I had been in for 10 days, and it was gone. I couldn't find it. So I think of the aggravation and not being able to attain something that I wanted to have right away stood in my way. So I think the most important thing is finally I I got out of my way and just let time take care of it. Just allow myself to sit there and not try to have any method, not try to push it, or even feel that I was incapable of attaining, this state of loving kindness. So I think that's pretty much what it was. Just giving in.
That's interesting. It sounded a bit like you found yourself getting attached to liking the state of being in loving kindness.
Right. But I also kept thinking about the teacher said, no matter what, you cannot have loving kindness if anything is in the way, any kind of a hindrance is in the way. So actually loving kindness is action absent of hindrances. All the 7 hindrances are greed, hatred, delusion, doubt, torpor, restlessness, all these different states that we go into when we sit meditation. If we have any of these states at all, then we cannot enter loving kindness. But once we overcome them, then loving kindness just appears. It's just the way. So it's absent. It's not something that you attain. It's something that is there once you work and let everything else go. This is one of my lessons in loving kindness.
Okay, Dharma Jinro, you have there are 2 questions that are related.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can see the chat box. If not, do you want me to read it out for you?
Yeah, read it out. Oh, should we avoid? Okay. Oh, I see it right now.
Yeah, right at the end.
It's amazing. We should be careful about the food that does. Ooh, Sharon, yeah. Well, I agree, but a lot of people do not agree. So there are different aspects on this. I mean, people, I understand that people who really cultivate and really accept things with a level mind can eat anything. It doesn't matter how hot or how spicy it is or anything. So this is one way to look at it. But for my level of cultivation, I really had to be careful. And I think that food does affect the emotions quite a bit. It affects your mental state. I know that when you're sitting in meditation for a long time, eating sweet food or spicy food or too much protein or too much fried food can make you very, very heavy. And it can also make you very dull, make your meditation very dull. This is my experience, and I think other people will probably share the same thing.
There's also another question right after that. It says, should we avoid spicy food in our cultivation then?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. I think that some people, if you're brought up on spicy food, maybe you can handle it. It depends on what happens to you when you eat it. You have to just notice your own emotions, notice your body, notice what happens to you, and you'll find the answer yourself. I know the Venerable Master had us eat very, very simple food when he was here. Very simple. And he did not have sugar on the table. He did not allow hot sauce on the table. Whatever was in the pot, we took.
Anyone else have any questions for Dharma Jinro? While they're thinking whether to ask or typing in the chat box. Yes.
Asha. I would like to ask you, is she having an online retreat? And how is it? Because I don't quite get it. Amitabha.
Oh, okay. I just attended an online retreat that took place in Canada and in the Canadian mountains. It was a virtual retreat online.
How is it, Amitabha? I'm curious.
Well, it was wonderful. It was really wonderful. It was For one thing, online, I was able to really focus on the talks, on the lectures, and they're all in English, of course, so I could focus on the English. So the way it was, you just meditate on your own in the daytime. You pick your time and you interval this walk and this sitting meditation, and you pick your own time. There's certain times of the day when you come together as a group, and you turn your computer on and you join maybe a question answer session, or maybe the morning session, or maybe the lunch chanting. So that's the way it was. It's very effective.
Oh, this is a good idea. Will Dharma Master make these suggestions to Sun Chen, to CCTV about this? I think it'd be a very great idea to actually do online retreats in this context, because Chan is on now, isn't it?
Well, the kind of chant that we do, I think is very different than the kind of retreat I went to, because the chant that we don't have talks, you just go in and sit and you walk and you sit and you go to lunch, you come back and you walk and you sit. There's a short lecture in the afternoon that is on tape. So this retreat had a lot of different aspects to it, because we were actually studying a sutra. So part of this was sutra study, and part of it was sitting in meditation. And also people could ask questions about their meditation, which really helped them a lot. But there were people from 32 different countries, and there were thousands of people that joined this retreat. And at the end of the retreat yesterday, it ended yesterday, people were able to go online with your face up there, and you're able to tell everybody what you gained from the retreat. So everybody shared their own of the value of this meditation with everyone else. So it's, it wasn't being there, but it was very much like being there with everyone. Very, very warming, very friendly, very warming, and very beneficial to my own cultivation, my own.
I think it's a good idea. It is and something that during this time is something we can look into. Because time now, because social distancing, we have this problem, and but I think it's a good idea. I like the idea a lot. Thank you very much for sharing.
I think there's going to be a seminar with Jin Chuanxue and Jin Weisher, right? JinHe.
I think so. I just want to point out, Namaste Jinro, you have one final question in the chat box. And also to everyone who's listening, the 4 Brahma Viharas, which is what loving kindness is part of, is the cornerstone of the sound hearer practices. Is what Theravada monks and nuns is part of their foundational practices. It should also be the foundational practice of Mahayana monks and nuns. But because it's not really mentioned in the Mahayana, emphasized in the Mahayana Sutras as much, and if it is mentioned in a way that assumes you already have mastery of the 4 Brahma Viharas, which is why you find less of these offerings in, say, from CDTB. Yeah, but there are, like Jin Roshi joined Ajahn Sona, there are many that Ms. Wong, if you look online, you'll be able to find quite a number of metta-based, or metta is loving kindness, metta-based retreats that you can join. Yeah. Tamasuru, you have the question?
Okay, your advice to track maintain. Oh, I think loving kindness is a way to maintain your cultivation when you're working in your everyday actual activities. I think loving kindness is a basis of Mahayana, and you can certainly use it in every cultivation, every Dharma practice in Mahayana. It can be included, and actually it can enhance it. Does that answer the question? If you'd like to Actually, Ajahn Sana has many talks online about metta. There are many talks online. You can just say loving kindness, meditation, loving talks on loving kindness, meditation. And there are many other Theravada monks who speak very well on not loving kindness, on metta.
Thomas Chinro, do you have any publications that on loving kindness, metta, or the four Brahma Viharas that you might want to share?
Oh, I do not.
You-
Oh, in the children's books, I use loving kindness as a basis for all the children's books that I work on. And actually, right now there's a new one that's coming out very soon. It's called Life of a Life in a Monastery. It's a story about a young monk who grew up in a Buddhist monastery. Basically, it's his life in the monastery, his interaction with the other people in the monastery, and it's all about the four unlimited minds: compassion, loving kindness, empathetic joy, and calmness, equanimity. So it's all included. Anything I write for children, I include the metta.
When will that be published?
Oh, I don't know. It takes a long time. It's almost finished now. Hung Ching-sher did
Okay, so
yeah. Okay.
sorry, please go ahead.
Oh, Hung Ching-sher, the big Shuni, did the drawings when she was 17 years old because she had a dream of her last life as a young monk in China. And she remembered the dream and she drew beautiful paintings of the dream. She put the paintings aside and they've been never used for anything until just recently. She says, well, I have these paintings and I did them when I was 17 years old. I don't know if you liked them or not. And of course, they're beautiful, really beautiful. So Terry Nicholson and I worked together and wrote a script for Life in a Monastery of a Young Person.
Wow. If you don't mind, Namasaro, Jinro, can you send me the drawings?
Yeah.
I'll be very interested.
Yeah. Okay.
In looking at them. All right, so we have run out of time, but it was so great to have Jinro with us today. I really enjoyed her sharing. And in the notes we have, I'm not sure who Galaxy Note 8 is, but he or she says that in Dr. Marty Verhoeven's memoir of Rama Master, he mentioned that the four Brahma Viharas were his secret Dharma in exchange for his acts. And that's true. Monks
True.
are taught that the only weapon that you have is loving kindness.
That's true. That I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And for Mahayana practitioners, we often get lost in compassion and great compassion. But as Jinro Shu said, you need loving kindness first. If you don't have loving kindness, you're going to have a lot of problems developing compassion because you do not have a strong foundation.
That's what I'm learning.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put up the slide for dedication of merit. And I hope I do not forget to bow to the Buddhas and to Shufu. I'm holding the handbell in my hand to remind myself. Okay, I'm going to put my palms together and invite everyone else to join us. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Oops, excuse me. Okay, 3 bows to the Buddha. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us again today.